Okay, well, Harry will be back on his way. He is present. We will call the Tuesday, July 9th Town Council meeting to order. All of council is present. If we can start by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Hamilton?
Let's pray, please. Heavenly Father, we stop now to give you the honor, Father, to recognize your greatness. Father, we also want to thank you for allowing this town to be such a great place to live. Father, your blessing on this town, we want to say thank you. Father, I ask also now that the leaders of this town, that you grace us with your wisdom. Father, give us the heart and the courage to do that which is right. Father, I ask that you bless all that are in this meeting, and Father, hope that all that we do and say may be pleasing in your sight. These and all other blessings in your Son, Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. We have adoption of the agenda. Mr. Orlando,
Yes, ma'am.
the agenda?
The agenda is fine with perhaps one addition of Representative Herb Kurtzman and Newton.
Okay, so we'll add Representative Herb Kurtzman on presentations, celebrations, and recognitions with that addition. If nothing else, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Next on the agenda is the adoption of minutes, and that's the meeting minutes of June 11th. If there are no changes or edits, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. First are recognitions, presentations, celebrations, and recognitions, and I'll start by bringing the Finance Department up. Outstanding budget presentation Finance Officers Association, and this is just becoming regular routine, and we love it. We've received this award for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2018, and we have also received this Distinguished Budget Presentation Award annually for 8 years. 8 fiscal years, so a lot to do with y'all, and thank you very much. It reflects the commitment of the Town Council and staff to meet the highest principles of governmental budgeting. The documents to get this, they have to be rated proficient in all 4 categories that I'm about to mention, and 14 mandatory criteria within these categories to receive this award. The 4 categories are a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communications device. It's all available on our townofbluffton.sc.gov website on the main page and under Finance. There are over 1,600 participants in this program, and the participants have pioneered efforts to improve the quality of budgeting and provide an excellent example of other governments throughout North America. So I know it's more than you that do this. It's all of staff, and we just can't thank you enough. So happy. We usually have this very heavy award, so we are going to do it with a certificate. I know, but congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have introduction of Bluffton interns. Mr. Orlando.
Thank you, Mayor Salka. Good evening, everybody. Excited to introduce our Fab Five, our summer interns here. Sorry, Zach, if you're not a Michigan fan, but Walter Wheeler, would you please stand up? So Walter Wheeler will be a sophomore at USC this fall and majoring in marketing. Welcome, Walter. Berger. Hi, Hannah. Hannah will be a senior at University of South Carolina this fall, and her major is finance and risk management. Welcome. Zach Fangman. Where's Zach? There he is. Can't miss him. Zach will be a senior at the University of New Hampshire this fall, and is majoring in community planning. So welcome, Zach. Another Zach, Zach Waters. Hey, Zach. Zach's going to be a freshman at Furman University this fall and majoring in political science. So welcome. Gabriel Duval. Gabe's going to be a junior at the College of Charleston this fall, and his major is sustainable urbanism and historic preservation.
Wow.
So a warm welcome, and they have been helping us so much with a lot of fresh energy and ideas, and we appreciate them greatly on our team here at Town Hall.
There you go. You'll see them here shortly after college,
Yeah.
working. That's the goal. There's a method to our madness.
There is a method to the madness.
Mr. Orlando, thank you. That's a great idea to bring in interns, and it just adds a little bit of life to all of us. So,
Thank you.
is that it? Then we have Dot Yeager is going to donate the pavilion at Oscar Frazier Park. Come forward. Just speak and. That's okay.
Okay. Right, thank you, Mayor Salka and Town Council, and thank you for having us here. I want to go on record as saying I am not here to ask for anything tonight. The first time I'm usually asking. Tonight we're here to honor our long-term partnership with the town. I want to introduce you to David Hussey, who's our new president. Hilton, who was responsible for building the pavilion. He was also responsible for building the community center, so it's a full circle for Steve. Glad to have them both with us tonight. Moral support up here. Our partnership with the town goes back a long way to 2000 when we started working on the community. The Rotary Club looked around and said our growing community needed places to meet, a meeting. Decided to build the community center, and it was a community effort. It was we did even an old-fashioned barn raising. We had about 50 builders who actually came out from the Home Builders Association and put those walls up. And so the community center, and it was used a lot when you were doing the beautiful renovations. Started. And after we built the community center, we moved on to the Field of Dreams, the adjacent property, and built that out. And then when the Field of Dreams was completed, we turned both of those properties over to the town to maintain. Happy to have those today. So about 4 years ago, we decided we wanted to do more with Field of Dreams. Once again, our town was growing, the community was growing, we had lots of young people, and we felt like we needed more in the park and in playgrounds for the children of our area. So we took on a project, and we started a wish list of what we wanted to go into the Field of Dreams Park, which eventually became a master plan, which y'all approved and put in as a master plan for the town. And it was a multi-phase, multi-year project that we started. And we decided to start with the playground. That seemed to be the highest priority. And this is a picture of what the Field of Dreams playground looked like before we started, so early 2018. And then we see the renovations going on for the Field of Dreams playground. Last year, we moved a lot of dirt. We had a lot of big machinery out there. We replaced the turf with the artificial turf, the cleaning turf. We were in partnership for this project with the town, who got us a grant, or got a grant for the project. And then the 2018 Hilton Head Island Bluffton Chamber of Commerce leadership class. That is a mouthful, but they were great to work with. And they brought us the Imagination Train, 10 spin, a new ADA swing, and then we did fencing to keep the children inside the playground, some landscaping, we did some sidewalks, and then we started what will become in phase 3, the continuous path around the perimeter of the playground. It'll be a 8-foot wide continuous path that goes a quarter of a mile long. So this was a great project between the three groups. We didn't go out into the community to ask for help for this. And this is the grand opening, pictures from the grand opening last year in April. The top picture on the right shows the sensory wall that the 2019 Hilton Head Island Bluffton Chamber of Commerce leadership class brought in. So we were extremely lucky to have the participation of 2 leadership classes back-to-back adopt our park. And we just were very thankful to have their help and their creativity for the playground. So we built this playground. I can tell you that there are lots and lots of children there every day. So if you build a playground and all the children come out, what do you need next? You have to have a place for them to go to the bathroom first. That's the first priority. And a covered pavilion so that we can have parties or birthday parties or gatherings or picnics or a safe place to hide if a rainstorm comes up. So we took that on as our phase 2. We had the groundbreaking in January, as you can see, and then some construction pictures. And we went very fast on this. As Steve said, it's just a shack, John. It's just a shack. It was more than a shack, and it was a lot of work, but we were very, very pleased, and we worked hard, especially at the end, to make sure this was ready for the beginning of summer. So we had the grand opening of the pavilion in May. And we have some pictures here of what the finished product looks like. So we have a completion of phase 1 and phase 2 of our park improvement project. We have a better park built through partnerships. We couldn't have done this alone. The Rotary Club is mighty, but our Rotary Club couldn't have done it without a lot of help from everybody else. We believe that we built a Field of Dreams community park built by the community for the community with partnerships. We couldn't have done it without partnership. We are especially thankful for the partnerships with the town going way back to 2000 and up through phase 2 of this. And we thank Mark, town manager Mark Orlando, who was the first in to agree with us on our project plans. We thank who helped us with our wish list. And then we thank Brian McElwee and Derek Coaxum and Brian Ranger, too, for all their help. It was a great project working through all of this. So I'm going to turn it over to David.
Just on behalf of the Rotary Club of Bluffton.
Speak in the microphone. It's
On
streaming
behalf of the
Facebook.
Rotary Club of Bluffton, we'd like to hand over full ownership to the town of Bluffton of the Oscar Fraser Pavilion.
You give it. Thank y'all very much. Thank you very much. And thank you, Representative Herb Kurzman and Newton, for all the support for this as well. Next we have, can I put y'all at the last of presentations? Is that okay? Okay. Next we have the Low Country Regional Transportation Authority FY20 funding proposal, Mary Lou Franzoni, and I think some of her boards here. I see if y'all could raise your hands. Thank you for being here, Mr. Hamilton. Thank you. And this is being streamed on Facebook. So if you could speak in that microphone, there's a reason for Facebook as well as the audience. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Soka and the council members for allowing me to come today and give you an update on Palmetto Breeze. Haven't been in a couple of years, so let me go ahead with that then. We have celebrated our 41 years in service. We started in 1978. The bus service started as the Buford Jasper Transit Authority. And the mission in 1978 was to bring people to jobs in Hilton Head from the rural counties. And it's still our mission today. We service 5 counties and bring people into better paying jobs. And we also have started some urban services in the Bluffton Hilton Head area. There's a map of the area we serve, and you can see how far we go, all the way up into Colleton County to Ruffin. And we serve Allendale, and we have a lot of riders come out of Hampton County. And you can see that Bluffton and Hilton Head are in the bottom right corner. And just wanted to show you all of our service area. Will I push a button to make this? Here's some of the things that we've been working on since the last time we were here. We have fully installed the Palmetto 800 radios in all of our vehicles and our base station, and that need really became apparent during Hurricane Matthew when the Verizon tower went down, and our push-to-talk communication was on the Verizon tower. And so we really scrambled at the EOC to call bus drivers on any phone other than Verizon to try to get communication out. And at that point in time, Major Zioli with the Sheriff's Department said, well, the next hurricane, maybe we can loan you some handheld radios. And so as we got grant money in, the urban grant money, and the capital purchases were covered at 80 and 85%, we looked at some of the really deep needs we had, and one of them was to have these 800 radios. They're the same radio that the fire and police have, and we're on the Palmetto 800 system, and so we're live in the entire state of South Carolina if need be. We switch to emergency and we can communicate with everybody, and that's a big step up. And also in our day-to-day service, we're just much more professional and we can reach all the buses and drivers. We rehabbed our large buses. Those big Palmetto Breeze buses you see on the road are mostly 06 and 07 coaches. Some of them had 1 million miles. A lot more of them have 1 million miles on them now. The state gave us some money to do whatever we needed to do with vehicles, and we decided to rehab these buses. And we spent roughly about $100,000 a piece. They gave us $600,000. We spent another $100,000 out of our grant funds for the 7th bus. And so we rehabbed 7 buses. We put new engines, new transmissions. They took out all of the seat foams and recovered all the seats. They painted them. They put decals on them. Any other work individually, they looked at the buses and said, oh, this one needs front end work. This one needs a differential. Whatever they found that had to be done was corrected on the buses. And one of the reasons that was a really high need is we couldn't afford, if an engine and transmission went down, it was $50,000 out of our operating money. And we couldn't even do one of those and survive. And so this really has gone a long way. We've done a lot of facility improvements. Our facility was first inhabited in 1995, and it seemed to be falling apart. So we've done a lot of different renovations. We moved in a modular office building behind our facility, and the operations staff just moved in last week, and it's great. We were all sharing offices, and so that helped out a lot. We also installed a facility generator. We found, we're not far from here, that the power goes out a lot in this area, and when our power went out, our computers go out and our phones go out, and we basically can't run a very good transit system. And so we have a facility generator. It runs the whole facility. It works great. We replaced our HVAC. We went out for roof bids. We had a leaky roof, and the prices came back, and we were rather shocked. And they were over $100,000 to re-roof our facility. And we went with a foam sealant for less than $50,000 with a 20-year warranty. So we went ahead and did that. We're very happy with that. And I'm going to talk about the VW settlement when I get to that slide, but we did put in an application for it. We have a 4th trolley on order. We have 3 right now. That trolley's supposed to be here in July, but I'm thinking probably December because they ran really late, the first set of trolleys. We have 5 large cutaways on order. For the urban side, we have a new software platform. It's close to $300,000 that the state provided, all the hardware and software, and all the computers inside and everything to do our ride sharing and our GPS and everything we do with the vehicles. We're getting high-speed internet because we got this great program and our internet couldn't really run the program. So we have Spectrum coming in. They actually aren't all the way to our facility. We should be installed by the end of the month. We work with the LCOG to do our planning, and they're doing phase 2 study of the urban services. And we now have a mobile ticket app. You can buy your fares on a mobile app, and we also have a bus locator app you can locate any bus in our system on this locator app. Really quickly to break down how we're funded, because I think this is a lot of question that people ask. And this is the entire system, both rural and urban. We're about 30% federal grant money on the rural side, another 20% on the urban side, 11% the state gives us. The local match money is about 19% of our budget. We get about 11% of the cost to run the system from the fares, and 10% is miscellaneous, which is the sale of old scrap, old vehicles. Any advertising revenue I can generate is all our miscellaneous revenue. I thought this would be a very interesting, what did I do to this? I just highlighted it.
That's okay.
I didn't mean to do that. But anyway, this is the urban grants that we have received. I'm going to go back.
It's okay. It's just the way our mouse.
I'm not really, can I get the first view back of the whole page? There we go. So the first grant we got, I work with Lisa Sulka at LATS, and so she's very familiar with what we went through to become an urban grantee. And they started granting us money before we could actually access the money. So when the first grant came in, we had all of those grants, as you can see up there, that came in for us to purchase things with. And so that was the first grant, and we've spent that grant out. The second grant is the grant that we're spending out of right now, and that has some of the fiscal year 17 grant money added in. So that one was a little bit large. That's how we bought a fourth trolley, because we had more money in that grant. And the third grant is the grant that's in the hopper right now that we're trying to get approved. We've submitted it, but we're waiting on some other paperwork. And that is our typical grant amount here going forward. Is going to be around that amount, 833, 850, somewhere in there. And so the state money that we get right now, we got $84,000 this year. That required a $280,000 local match. And as you can see, looking through the different local match numbers for the 3 grants we've got, they are going down because now we're getting to just a single year grant. So it means it's a little less expensive on the yearly amount, but we have less money for capital, really. The first grant that had 4 years worth of grant funds, it's a use it or lose it situation. You know, if we didn't find the capital we needed to purchase, which is facility improvements, vehicles, you know, the things that we did, we would have just left that money behind, and we needed it. So we went ahead forward with that. And this is just in detail, the urban revenues for this year's budget, and it shows, and I have a leave behind. I'm going to leave everybody a copy so you can see how the revenues shake out on the urban side. You can see the second section down is capital, and even this year we've spent, out of the grant money we've got, we've spent quite a bit on capital, and the more we operate services, the less capital we'll be spending. And that's just a depiction of what the last screen was showing. On the urban side, half of it is grant funding. And then the local match is, you know, about almost a quarter. I presented this when I presented all my budget presentations, is that just searching through other transit systems in the state and how do they get their local funding, or how do they match their grants. And Common in Columbia has a sales tax they use. Charleston also has a tax. Myrtle Beach does not. And so in talking to Myrtle Beach, how do y'all get funded? Horry County is giving them $6 per vehicle on their road use tax. And this is more of a county thing, and I've presented this to all the counties. But we did an analysis, and if we got between $3 and $5 on car registrations in the 5 counties that we're operating in, we would never have to ask any localities for any money ever. And that is really my biggest thing that I would like to do, is find a dedicated funding source for Palmetto Breeze, and so that we can plan year to year, we can build on our plans, we can have a robust transit here. year by year. And so hopefully we can find that source. Wanted to talk about the VW settlement. VW cheated on the diesel emissions and got caught, and so they had to settle up with people individually, but they also had to pay a huge penalty to the United States, and this got divvied up among all the states, and South Carolina got about $33 million. And this first round of funding is only for school buses and transit buses and motor coaches. And really, the word is that they're trying to replace all the school buses with propane school buses because the state owns them. But our buses all qualify. I have 11 buses that qualify that are older than 2010. And it's $5.5 million of buses that I put in the application. They're going to do 10 million each round, and so you don't only have to apply once. And so I asked everyone that had any influence. It's the Insurance Division, South Carolina Department of Insurance, is who is administering this. And also, they said 60 days from May 17th. I just got an email that pushed it to the end of the month. They aren't ready to decide yet. So that is in the works right now. And that would be huge. That would get us in transit buses until the 2030s without spending a lot of operating money to keep them running. So this is a really a big opportunity for us.
Who have you asked? Have you asked the town? I mean, who is it that you need to ask to help support that?
Well, I've asked every county that if they had any political alliance, and I know Tom Davis's office has been contacted by one of our board members 3 or 4 times, and I think that his office has done something, but I don't think enough has been done, and the decisions haven't been made yet. So if you can help in any way.
Ask us. We didn't know. So can
Right.
you put that in an email? And
This is what we're doing now over on Hilton Head. Hilton Head and Bluffton are both in the urbanized area. And unincorporated Beaufort, what happened with the census of 2010 is this area became urbanized, and we got urban grant funds. So we started on Hilton Head. They had done a study, the Circle to Circle Committee did a study, and one of the recommendations of that was to do a trolley of some type on the south end to alleviate the traffic. And so this is seasonal. We came out this year on April the 1st, and we're going to run till October 15. Last year we ran mid-July on, and we changed the route. This is the route now, and we run later at night, and we serve, we go to the Motor Coach Association, and we changed the route somewhat. We do Wexford, and our ridership is up about 24% per day over last year. So what we've done is really helped improve things, and we actually have a dedication next Tuesday, the 16th. It's our 1-year birthday. We're dedicating the 3rd trolley. Each trolley has a name and a history to go with it, and this one is the Loggerhead, the 3rd one. The previous study that was done in the urbanized area, they did identify some areas in Bluffton, and so this is very rough. I just wanted to put this up. This map was kind of put up as to say, okay, Bluffton Park, all the way to the right, the Bluffton Parkway where all the apartments are, definitely people need service, and we came down through Old Town and back up through by Oscar Fraser Park and to the Walmart, and then on to Buckwalter, and then to Palmetto Bluff, who contracts with us now for 2 trips a day, and they pay in full for that. They would like 5 trips a day. So it's just a preliminary, where we got last year with the planning. Phase 2 just got awarded, and the start date was July 1, so they're about their first weekend. And this is it's there, and pretty much that route expands as people call us and say, hey, I got a job at the Popeyes or at the Bojangles. Can you give me a ride? And we'll give them a ride there. The new Kroger's, we have people going there. So as soon as people want transportation in Bluffton, they call and we'll arrange for that bus.
I might have missed answer, but so they come to Bluffton first before they go to Hilton Head?
They do, they do. All of the buses that come from the 7 counties come to our facility, and when the buses leave, they're designated, you know. One may go to the Barony or Sonesta, and one will go to Grand Ocean. So they go all over Hilton Head, and then we have one that just circulates Bluffton.
So we only have one bus in Bluffton.
Right, that circulates through Bluffton.
That's how you would track your number.
And if need be, at any point in time, we could develop a route map where the driver will mark each place they get off. We don't do that on a normal basis, but if we wanted that type of survey, we could do that.
I think that would be helpful if we know that if you need some support from Bluffton, how much of the
Typically know that is to conduct like a week-long survey where
Right.
you have a survey instrument, because origins are going to be hard, you know, where are people coming from? When they get on a bus, we would know, but when they get off at our facility, I don't know that he came from Hardeeville and then he got on this other bus. But if you surveyed people, we could come up with.
I would
that.
like to, if it's feasible, I see that as part of the workforce solution going forward, so I think that would be helpful.
That in mind.
Yeah, just one quick question. You said that you contract with Palmetto Bluff for 2 trolleys, you call them
2
again?
trips, right.
2 trips
Yeah.
a day. Where do those folks go? Where does that,
They
Trip
get
go.
picked up at Avalon Shores, and I think it's on Simmonsville, and we picked them up there. And we also, because we're public transit, would pick up anybody that requested a ride, especially if they called in, we would tell them when the bus was coming by. And then we just go out Bluffton Parkway and Buckwalter and out to Palmetto Bluff.
So taking employees in.
It's employees.
right?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And
They rent 25.
and doesn't RSI do that as well? I was told that.
We go to RSI, but they don't pay us any
Okay,
money.
I thought I was told they did. Yes, sir.
I think you said 10% of your budget is paid by passengers on the bus, right?
About, yes, of the fares.
What's the average fare cost?
I would say around $2.50. It's $4 from Hampton, and it's $2 on a local fare, $2.50 if you're in Beaufort County. Right after I came, we did raise the fares because they hadn't been raised in 10 years. And you know, we raised them a good amount, and I don't think that's a place to look.
Is that fair one way?
Yes, sir.
So if you're the worker, $5 a day minimum,
$8 a day
right?
from,
Some of them are 8.
Okay.
What else happens? Some of the employers, the Marriott is one, buys bulk tickets and gives them out to their employees. And
think-
so
I think that's-
there are other employers that do that as well. I think McDonald's does it.
any
and
other questions?
So, just so I make sure I understand, if you live in Hampton or Hampton County, you come to Bluffton, it's $4.
It is one way.
Get off the bus in Bluffton and you're going to the south end of Hilton Head. Is it $2.50 more?
No, you don't pay anymore. You already paid your $4.
So once, no matter where you come from, that's the max, so it's, okay.
Any other questions? Butts?
Both ways.
Yeah, they pay $8 individually. We offer a 10% discount if you buy a week or a month's worth of tickets.
Well, it's a needed entity, and this group sits on LATS with all the municipalities in the 2 counties. And I would just, you know, we need to see you more than every 2 years. So I thank you for coming, because I think this is something we all need to understand the use and what our citizens are getting out of it, probably more so than what we see. What Hilton Head is doing, we need to really focus on Bluffton and see how we can get more routes. I know I've heard complaints about just the timing, and I just think your study will start that conversation. And please let us know when that's going to happen.
The last thing I did want to say is that it's great to look at what we're doing now, but part of what we want to do with this urbanized grant is we want to expand to have some type of local service. And that's what the study's about. Like, what do we want to see? How often should it come? Who should it serve? How much should the fare be? All those questions are for a service in Bluffton that doesn't exist right now. And so that's really what the next step is.
So for the people here and us, you have a website, LRTA, what it would
PalmettoBreezeTransit.com.
PalmettoBreezeTransit.com. Okay. Thank you very much. thank you.
And I also have copies of the,
Okay, you can leave it with Kim, right there. Next, we have Greater Bluffton Chamber and Convention Visitor Bureau's 20 accommodations tax request, Shelley West. Y'all don't look like Shelley West. Hello.
Hello,
I'm good, how are you?
Thank you, thank you.
Good.
My name is Ken Groff. I am the chairman of the Greater Bluffton CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau. With me, I don't think I have to introduce the man next to me here, Robert Spalks, who's also on the committee with me, and Jim Thayer, who's Chief Operating Officer of Peacock Automotive, who is also on our committee. And we're here to report back to you, to the council and staff on our application for the ATAX funds. And we appreciate you having us back here. And we hopefully look forward to a very close partnership with the town and the town staff in basically delivering your message to our visitors and tourists. We believe this partnership should, center around the sharing of ideas. We are not the be-all of ideas on visitors and tourism, and we look forward to feedback from council, feedback from staff on how we can deliver that message. As we all know, visitor messaging is very important to help promote our area, and not just for tourism, but also other visitors who are visiting in our area over time to potentially move here, work here, and play here. As most of us who have gravitated to the Low Country from other areas, we usually have stayed here 2 or 3 times before we made the jump and made the leap to come here. And impression we get when we come to this area, I think it's very important that our citizens from Bluffton are the ones who are delivering that message to these visitors, because they already work here, they already live here, and they already play here. And I think you'll find our internal staff who are meeting the visitors and tourists are upbeat, very informative, and are there to help and to deliver that message. In fact, when I was doing some audit of information in our office, I came upon one little message from a couple who were staying at Palmetto Bluff. And this is just the last week of June. In her email to us as management, she said, "The most delightful lady helped us with a map, event details, and all sorts of information which will make our visit much more interesting. It was truly refreshing to meet a person who obviously loved her job, works very hard at it. We would like to pass on to whoever is in charge that your Bluffton office represented extremely well by a knowledgeable and very courteous lady. Thank you." And those are the type of comments I think we all appreciate getting from the public when your staff is doing something that high. Jessica Kitzmiller heads up our internal staff. She's the one who oversees our internal employees and also volunteers. Obviously, we're a very heavy volunteer organization. We don't have a very large staff, so we depend on volunteers, and they help us give the message. And if you deal with a lot of volunteers and you've been involved in nonprofit organizations, people who volunteer want to be there. They've got the passion to be there to provide the service. Some numbers I would like to throw out to you that we uncovered as we did an audit on what are we doing? Who are we touching? Who are we talking to? Now, unfortunately, with our internal staff on phone calls, the only phone calls that we were able to track are actually messages taken by people calling in. The number of phone calls that come in on a monthly basis from that standpoint were 78. We think that's probably only 30 to 40% of the actual phone calls that come in that aren't directed directly to staff on a direct dial line or an email. Over 75 walk-ins, people who walk in off the street and are asking questions. They're asking about restaurants, they're asking about where to go, what are the events, what other activities there, what are the churches involved. See, we are giving information for people who want more than just tourist attractions. they want to know about our area. They want to understand, they want to know more about where they could, like I said, live, work, and play. We keep login sheets of everyone who walks through the door, and some of the what is interesting on the emails and the information they put down as to why they are visiting in our area. And I think visitors being attracted to our area are very important from the standpoint of workforce development. We need more employees, and therefore, we've always instructed our staff to let people understand what it's like to work and live here in the Bluffton area. Some of the things that people ask us, besides the infamous, and you've probably seen these, you've probably seen too many of these over times from various organizations, and I think I brought it, the map. We talk about going wireless and your cell phones and things like that. People still are coming in asking for a hard map. And that's one of the things that when we look at visitor bureaus and information, we have a number of organizations printing maps. And we think in the planning process going forward with town and maybe the other municipalities is how can we consolidate all these maps so that there's one map? And maybe one map south of the Broad, one map north of the Broad, but we shouldn't be floating around so many different maps. Over 5 years of maps, we have actually ordered, and we still have some left, but we have ordered over 30,000 of these to show you how much people are still asking for these hardcore maps. And these maps are updated because our area is growing so quickly with new streets, so every year the map has to be updated for them. Get back to my notes here. It's the first time Roberts hasn't talked in a long time. Did you notice that?
He seems content back there.
Yeah, he's got his hand up to my back. I feel like Charlie McCarthy. Some other things I would like to point out on what we're doing. We've had over 500 contacts since May and June on the ad we put in for the Taste of Bluffton with Southern Living. So those are 500 contacts that people are contacting us and they're wanting information or feedback coming back to us, which was quite unbelievable. Event searches on our website, 9,539 event searches. So people are searching this area for events, things to do. In closing, I basically like to say this. It says, we believe staff and our committee want to move forward with a very strong partnership with the town. I know this is going to be hard to believe. I've only lived here 19 years and just met Mark Orlando for the first time 2 weeks ago. We want to be more active with the town. The town has got resources. We have resources. We think that partnership can move this visitor bureau going forward to basically deliver the message that you want us to deliver. This is not our message. This is your message, and hopefully jointly we can provide input on what we hear from the public on what that message should be. Sometimes you hire consultants who like to tell you what they think the message should be. We want to give you back the feedback from the people who are knocking on our doors, calling our phones and saying, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for. And because as people move to the area, they're looking for recreational ideas, they're looking for where is the area going, transportation issues. It was nice to hear from the transit authority here on transportation. People want to know how do they get from point A to point B and where the growth is. And the other thing is schools. They want to know about the schools. They want to know about the doctors, the hospitals. They want to know about the government facilities and what they provide. And in closing, we look forward to working with the town staff on a positive, let's say, fresh look going forward. And we're very excited and hopefully that you like what you hear.
Thank you. Questions?
9,000 some odd email hits, that was over at what period of time?
Event searches, yeah, event searches on the chamber website. That's a quarter, right?
When you said you had 75 walk-ins, was that weekly, monthly, or what?
That's monthly. Those are monthly numbers. And the phone calls that we've tracked on messages, like I said, since there's a lot of direct, out of those 78 phone calls, 40 were out of state. But we're also getting phone calls from 864 area codes and 803 area codes, which are outside of our area too, but 40 are particularly just out of state.
Robert, you okay?
How are you, Fred?
Well, now we can see
I
him.
just want to make sure you could still talk.
I still talk.
Okay.
Question, I just have a question, and I don't know. I know we saw the ATAX request, and I pulled it up from last month, and I think we had asked for a more thorough presentation of the reason why the money, and I know we're going to meet legal for some other things later.
Right.
But I know when, I'm just going to, I think what I thought I was going to hear was a little more of a presentation, not why we need to fund, and maybe this is for future if we move on, but I know the Hayward House, they're our welcome center. So in return, we get a pretty thorough report, and maybe this will happen, of, okay, we had 75 calls, 15 came from New York, 15 came from whatever, to kind of see where they're coming, and the 75 people that walk in, we capture their names and emails, and this is what we send them. I think that's what I thought I was going to hear, and it's okay, because I appreciate you standing up and doing, all three of you being here, but kind of think about that.
Yeah, from the record,
on that.
yeah, from the record-keeping situation, we've been kind of doing it as it happens, you know, as the organization, the chamber grew. And it wasn't until, you know, recently we saw the volume of numbers coming in that obviously we had not cataloged all the data, which we were going to be able to do, you know, electronically going forward. You know, the sign-in sheet's pretty easy, but not everyone does the sign-in sheet. So, you know, we have to be a little more, you know.
And almost have some kind of a little, because I know in my world, it's some kind of just a record, easy 2 or 3 questions,
Right.
email, phone, why are you here, where you came from? Because it is money, you know, we got to have real solid numbers to give this ATAX money out, because we know it's serving the reasons that y'all want to advance, and we've got to feel good that it's going out, because you're capturing all that information and
Right.
all of that, so.
Yeah, we believe in measurables too. You know, what, like we always said, what is measured is rewarded.
Right, that's right. Anything else?
I ditto what you said. We definitely need to better record keeping so that we can feel like whatever we contribute, our taxpayers are also rewarded for it. So give us an opportunity to help, but give us more information to work with.
I agree wholeheartedly.
You know, one of the things that we're kind of battling back and forth here, we couldn't agree with you more about the need to keep records and be accountable for everything we do. To demonstrate that we're doing our part. Flip of that is, to this point, we've just been doing it as something else we do, a part of the larger chamber. And now as we carve this out into a separate it's obvious we have to do that for you. It's just that in this startup moment, you know, it's difficult to give you, all that stuff that's tangible and concise.
What is, like, who is staffing now? What are they doing now? Now we have a group of people that are kind of taking it on. Do y'all have input with staff on how to address people walking in, what to get, how to give y'all information now, like from this point forward already? Okay.
Yeah, it's going through.
Convention Bureau.
We were all worried.
Is managed by, supervised by a committee of 5, 3 of whom are here. And so we're totally independent, other than the fact we're appointed, but operate totally independent. And so basically growing into this, taking it over, revamping it, and going to supply you with the information that you need.
Great.
One of the key thing I heard the last two of you said, actually all three of you, is that there's room for improvement, and you're going to make that happen.
I think you're going to see a total change. Although you're not going to see me standing here.
Well,
How many full-time employees do you have, staff?
One.
And that'll grow depending upon our Jess and the county.
And then you mentioned that you have volunteers. How many volunteers do you think you have on a daily, weekly basis?
We have 3 individuals who volunteer, sporadically, they interchange from that standpoint. We've also had an intern for a number of weeks too. We kind of supplement the staff with those volunteers and intern. And as, Robert said, if we can move forward with our proposal, we're hiring another full-time staff person.
What are the hours of the chamber?
6 days a week, 5?
9.
9 to 5. 9 to 5 is the convention.
6 days a week, so I'm assuming that's Saturday also?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you're closed on Sunday?
Yes.
Okay.
For clarity, the one employee that you mentioned, how many employees does the total organization have?
Of the chamber?
Yes, sir.
2.
2. So, first of all, I want to jump on board with what everybody else at the dais has said. I like your approach. I like the forward-looking, positive attitude. And I realized all along, just as you have, that you can't grow unless you can bring in additional people, which is what you just said. So you have one employee, but really that one employee hits across the table for both sides of the fence. And for the record, Jessica does a great job for you. I don't know how she does everything she does, but she seems to really bring a little light to the table.
Palmetto Bluff email that you heard was about Jessica.
I knew that.
And clearly this funding provides that ability to ask.
one more question.
Has Beaufort County acted on the request for y'all's funding
August.
through them?
August is when they.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
August 12th, I think, is the deadline.
Thank you.
I think it is. And while y'all are going, I do agree. I think at one point we had 5 different requests for the same maps, and I was going to scream if one more person asked to print maps.
We've got to become.
We've got to come together on a map,
and-
all
and
of us.
have one map and.
Everybody
and-
participate.
Exactly.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I do the proclamation for Gullah Geechee and then y'all? Do you mind? Okay. Next, we have the Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week, and there's Queen Quet. You come forward, and I will read this, and then we'll have our representatives come up and do whatever they want to do, for as long as they want to do it. So, Queen Quet comes every year. Thank you very much for your patience. Whereas Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week began in 2012, and the celebration of the living legacy of Gullah Geechee history, heritage, and culture came about due to the work of St. Helena Island native Queen Quet, chiefess of the Gullah Geechee Nation. And whereas Bluffton continues to participate in the celebration and to show our support, we are calling on all citizens and visitors in the Bluffton area to take part in the activities associated with these events, which are part of global activities for the United Nations International Decade of People of African Descent. Whereas the town of Bluffton supports keeping Gullah Geechee cultural heritage alive by supporting the Gullah Geechee Sustainability Plan to protect our coast and our culture. Whereas the theme for this year's celebration is Healing the Land and Holding Punda Culture. How about that? I practice. Therefore, I, Lisa Salka, along with Town Council, proclaim that July 27th to August 4th is Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week in the town of Bluffton. So thank you very much.
me to say something.
Oh.
She said, yes, she got to get one.
Okay, real quick.
Photo.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
you taking her time to talk. There you go, couple seconds.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Soka. Thank you, Town Council. One more again and thing like that. When I yet say the air tax people been ahead of me, I've been looking for a check with this year. It's so good. And it sound like y'all got some money around y'all. The transportation people and everybody in it. Okay then. The Gullah Geechee family say, "Oh, I got the money. I just have to come get them in it." Okay then. I'm so glad if there one more again and thing like that. I know most of the time, this year in Bluffton and thing like that, y'all are more demure here. You speak like this a lot in Bluffton. However, this town high on the bluff is a Gullah Geechee township. So we're very happy that every year Bluffton participates in Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week, and it is wonderful to come here this year and tour like I usually do when I come to this side of Beaufort County and see all of what you've done since the last time. And I was the first native Gullah Geechee to serve on your historical society here at Haywood House. So I stopped there on the way in. Fabulous job, wonderful. So I am praying that next year, when we launch this, that we can launch it here in the town of Bluffton and have the launch at Haywood House. So y'all have that on the record. Now, I'm already putting the request here with the town council as well. All right, whoever needs to vote on the board, and I'm also on the board for Garvey House. I'm very happy to let people around the world know that's coming on board as well, so that when you come to this town, Honayeti, who we don't anything like that down here. All right, so all of you who want to keep up with everything, Mayor Soka, this is for your official record. That's how thick the calendar is for Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week. That I had to bring you a whole newsletter. But anyone else that wants one, just follow us at GullahGeecheeNation.com, at Gullah Geechee on Twitter or Instagram, or Gullah Geechee Nation on Facebook. That way, Hona Children can keep up with all of what be going on the whole week up and down the coastline. Thank you, Bluffton. Love y'all.
Thank you. Well, there you go. They're right back there. Okay, we have an add-on. We have Representative Bill Herb Kurzman and Representative Weston Newton that are coming to say hello, and they have some presentation to make. So why don't you come here and talk in there?
Hello, everybody. Mayor, members of council, thank you. Thank you for having us, and thank you for indulging us. And if I could, can I just say, Hannah, I hope you're showing the rest of them. I mean, being the only Gamecock, I hope you're showing the rest of them how to do it, right?
You got two Gamecocks.
Oh, we do?
there.
Okay,
You're
well, two
Walter.
Gamecocks. I hope
You're
you
no
want, oh, all right,
Tigers.
there you go. So you're fixing the
Stinks.
cream. Okay, no Tigers?
I
No,
know.
that's all right.
Outreach.
Good job.
Hey, looking around the room, though, it's almost like I'm on Larry's front porch or something. You know everybody in here, and this is probably the most positive meeting I've been to in a long time, so thank you for that. But Representative Newton and I are here to present a check, another installment for the regional tourism dock. And this isn't happening all over the state, folks. This is something that's been specific to Bluffton. As we're going for these grants, the biggest part that we have is that the council know what's going on. They come up and visit. We had some folks talking about the issues down here with the dock coming up, and I think Councilman Toomer had laid out the fact that that dock was a regional dock back in the 30s and 40s, and it kind of swayed the argument. But what I'd like to say is that Mark Orlando, you and your staff have just been spectacular. I mean, you could hold a clinic on how to get grants with these folks, because your staff is unbelievable in how fast they answer and how exact they are. So I just want to thank you. Heather, all of you all are just really good. Scott, it's been a real pleasure for us to do it. It's easier for us to do it. So we started out with the initial request, I think, of the first check was, what, $500,000 and $500,000, and we wanted to bring it up to, this last one was supposed to be $250,000. Representative Newton and I worked them a little bit harder on some things that fell through in other parts of the state, and we were able to get $300,000 this year. So we've got other grants coming up. We have a law enforcement grant coming up, Chief, and some other grants coming up. This is just the second or third installment of the regional dock, and so we're so pleased to be able to present this to the town council. Representative Newton?
Bill, thank you, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all. You're a great partner to work with. You know, when you got a great product to sell, it makes it easy to go to bat and to work to bring the money home. You know, you've often heard both of us talk about repatriation of dollars. I mean, it's interesting this time of year, and the governor vetoes historically a number of issues in the budget. These are the kinds of funds that the governor vetoes. And so when we go back to Columbia and we override the governor's veto, or we vote to override and garner the support of other members in the House, it's because these kinds of projects have been fully vetted by Ways and Means. They've been fully reviewed. They're local projects. They're worthy. And we're doing our job by representing not only town council, but you all and all the citizens in the Low Country by doing what we can to make sure that the state doesn't forget about this part of the Low Country. So, as Bill said, this is only one of a number of installments as we continue to work for you all and bring home the proverbial bacon. So, thank you. And I'm sorry Ms. Franzoni left, because I turned to Bill during her comments and said, since the budget does start in the House, perhaps if she'd make a phone call and talk to us in the House, we might be able to help.
You have a board member right back there that will relay that.
Include that. We hadn't heard from you all. In fact, that's more information since I served on county council that I knew about LRTA. We'd be delighted to see what we can do for you all in Columbia as well.
Yeah, let me just end it with this before we present this to Mark,
Good, Mark.
Is that, you know, everybody in this room, the town council, the staff, everyone in here believes in Bluffton. We believe in Bluffton. Now the state of South Carolina believes in Bluffton too, and we appreciate that. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell me about what you did for Bluffton Eagles. Tell me about what you did. Tell me.
No, thank you.
Hold on. I think it's important that Bill and Weston also let them know that you also help out nonprofits. And Bluffton Eagles Action Committee is one of the nonprofit that you helped twice already. Can you?
Yeah, that's right, Fred. Thank you for bringing that up. I mean, the Bluffton Eagles is an important part of Bluffton history, and we were able to argue that in Columbia that it was part of the old Negro League that was left over, or the leftover part, wasn't it? Yes. From the history that we got from Fred, and it was a great pleasure to be able to bring money back to that as well. And I think we've been able to help Mr. Orlando with the streetscape and with the water quality. The water quality here has been unbelievable on the amount of, because Bluffton is all about the water. So all these, as Weston said, it's a repatriation of our money here, and so we just appreciate all your help. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, get with the picture.
We catch this right away?
Yeah.
It'll be good on Friday. Vicky's ready to take care of it.
Good. So if y'all could stay, Phil, okay, you're going to stay for this next, you're going to stay a minute. Okay. You have two USC kids that may want to be pages, and we will write them a reference letter. So if they ever come to y'all, you remember they intern here first, right? My USC kids? Good. We're just because I want both of them to see what we're pushing on distracted driving and hands-free SC. So if y'all would humor me, I'd like to move item 3 up to number 1. And if Scott could do the consideration of a resolution to encourage and support amending the South Carolina Code of Laws, Title 56, Motor Vehicles, Chapter 5, Uniform Act regulating traffic on highways by adding provisions. I just missed public comment. Oh, shoot. And we just had so many presentations, I'm jumping. Hold on. No, that's next. We have public comment for second. Well, let's do this, and then we'll do communications from mayor and council. Okay. So we have a public comment on a non-agenda item, and that'll be after formal items. Okay. So we're back to you. We're moving things around a little bit. Highways by adding provisions defining and prohibiting distracted driving. Mr. Marshall.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, while he's bringing that up. This is a resolution for your consideration to encourage and support amending the South Carolina Code of Laws Uniform Act regulating traffic on highways by adding provisions for defining and prohibiting distracted driving. So the National Highway Transportation Safety Authority says distracted driving is a specific type of driver inattention. It occurs when the driver diverts their attention away from driving to anything else that's going on in the vehicle. It's responsible for approximately 3,000 traffic fatalities a year in the U.S., and only 14% of those 3,000 distracted driving fatalities involve the use of a cell phone. So that means over 2,600 fatalities a year are the result of distracted driving that have absolutely nothing to do with texting and driving. I'll tell you why that's important. We have laws at the state level, we have laws at the county level, we have laws at the local level here in Bluffton that prohibit texting and driving, and all of those laws have exactly the same wording, and you see it there. It's unlawful for a person to use an electronic communication device to compose, read, or send an electronic message while operating a motor vehicle. And there's a reason why that language is the same at all levels. That's because effectively through state law, local political subjurisdictions are prohibited from adopting laws that further define and prohibit distracted driving, both through the South Carolina Code of Laws and through the South Carolina Constitution. So to effect change, to expand the definition of distracted driving and prohibit it on our roads, we need to amend the state code, specifically the Uniform Act regulating traffic on highways. So the resolution that I have for your consideration this evening will accomplish two things. One, it will encourage and offer support to members of the South Carolina General Assembly to introduce amendments to South Carolina Code of Laws which will prohibit distracted driving in all forms, and will also provide a copy of the resolution to members of the Beaufort County Legislative Delegation and offer assistance from the town to formulate such amendments for consideration. Next step in this process is that pending your adoption of the resolution, members of Town Council may sign the letter that we have at attachment 2 for each one of your signatures. We'll transmit that directly to the Beaufort County Legislative Delegation, and I think we can get it to them pretty quickly tonight. Also, staff will share a copy of this resolution and a copy of the letter that's signed by you all with the City of Beaufort, the Town of Hilton Head Island, the Town of Port Royal, the Municipal Association of South Carolina, and also we will share it with Beaufort County, Hardeeville, and Yemassee. Suggested language to support the motion. The resolution is there in your package at attachment 1. If you would like to call attention to that, we can bring that up on the screen as well.
Right. Any questions? This is something that we have been working on for several years. Chief Chapman came, and not a month into it, he was just totally overwhelmed with the number of people he passed where people had no hands on the wheel. And, you know, WTOC, thank you for being here. They did a drive around with one of our officers, and then they went to Kroger and they interviewed someone who, of course, didn't like our idea of handing out these instructional keys with lanyards, but there's nothing we can do about it. We can't write a ticket for someone doing something other than texting, you know, so if they're leaning over, they're eating, or they're driving with their knees, there's nothing that towns can do right now. So I know we have the legislative gumption sitting right there with these two that they know Bluffton always kind of starts things, and there are 48 other states that we can find great laws to pass. So there doesn't have to be a lot of work on how to write it, and Bill's already discussed it, some ideas. So Town of Hardeeville is all on board. Peacock Auto Mall, thank you. Thank you. Peacock Auto Mall, without a minute, took this on to help us do some education, and it's just added to it. Town of Hardeeville, WTOC's been a big partner, iHeartRadio, I mean, I can name it, and people want this. And it shows 16%, it cuts accidents by 16%, distracted driving accidents. And to me, one kid saved or one adult is worth it. So anyway, I appreciate us looking into this. We have a wonderful brochure that we put together, a little trifold, that talks about the LUTC 43 program. I'd love for y'all to read about it. It's about a young man that lost his life at 23 making really bad decisions and not having a clear head, not having clear hands, not having clear eyes, and not clicking it, which is the law. So I would appreciate all of y'all to look at this and help us, and let's get the momentum and make these two guys heroes to get this to Columbia. and I really appreciate any help y'all can give to it. We're not asking, well, we will ask for money. We'll always ask for money, but we want your support. These kids get it, and we want these kids to live long enough to not even be hit by a distracted driver, because that's where a lot of these kids lose their lives. It's people like us driving distracted, teaching them how to drive distracted. My 2 cents. Anyway, any other questions? Is there a motion to approve this resolution on the, thank you, to support amending the South Carolina Code of Laws, Title 56, Motor Vehicles, Chapter 5, Uniform Act regulating traffic on highways by adding provisions defining and prohibiting distracted driving?
So moved. Second.
It's all second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by aye. Aye. Thank you. We'll sign it. They can't leave till they get it. Give it right to them. Thank y'all. I know y'all know how important it is to, and thank everybody for signing the pledge. Thank everyone for supporting this. So, the first set of public comment is related to formal agenda items, which we have none. We have one public comment for non-agenda item. Next, we have communications from mayor and council. Anything?
Yes. First of all, we had another great July 4th Children's Parade. And I missed you. I know you were there, but I didn't miss you in the crowd. And also, I just want to call out again Officer Rodriguez for his award at the banquet with the chief and everybody being recognized for Officer of the Year. Great job, great team, and your whole department makes us all proud. Thank you.
Anything else? Well, July 4th was just awesome. From the first Bluffton run, which the challenge was thrown down, that CrossFit 843 wasn't going to get more than 100 runners, and they had 420, and it was awesome. So we want to carry that on to our August 3rd run. It's running season, so all of you help us spread the word, and we're going to get all of those runners to run for this distracted driving campaign. Also, just as a heads up, we did fund our PALS League for 2 huge baseball events. And these kids in Bluffton know how to play baseball. I think one league just won. There was a team in Florence, a game in Florence, and they won, and they're going to Louisiana. And so all these kids are super excited. The first one starts Saturday. I think it's the Dixie Boys Baseball State Tournament, and then the following week is the Baseball Ozone State Tournament. I might have it flip-flop, but if y'all are out and about, you're going to have 14 teams, 14 kids each team, and a lot of parents and a lot of brothers and sisters roaming around. So just know that's why they're here.
Mayor, I think they're still asking for volunteers
Okay.
to help them. I think I saw something just recently on that.
But on
so
PAL,
a Facebook blast for them right there.
yeah, so PAL, so go to
Yes.
Parks and Leisure, go to Beaufort County or Parks and Leisure. It'd be great to volunteer, and anyone in the audience. Okay, so we'll move back and get back in order. Number 1, formal item 9.1, consideration of proposed contractual arrangement related to the town of Bluffton designated marketing organization. Natalie, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. Okay. Okay, this is now the contract request that staff is requesting Town Council to authorize the town manager to authorize the attached draft contract with the Hilton Head Island Bluffton Chamber of Commerce for an up to 3-year term without an automatic renewal. And we will capture funding in separate resolutions annually as they come in May or June. There is one recommended change that is separate than in what is in your packet. In item 1.6 will include language for a website dedicated specifically to the town of Bluffton, which was part of the RFP process. And then also language in 1.5 that was recommended at last month's town council meeting to to include to rephrase the examination of financial records to be a mandatory obligation rather than a potential right.
So you're adding 1.6?
You're
And then
adding
1.5, you're
1.6.
adding that
We're
added language?
rephrasing that verbiage.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay.
This is all back from the original RFP process that we started back in March. Questions that you
Questions?
have?
I have one, Mayor.
Start with you.
Realize the way the contract is written is based on the percentages as assigned by the state and local aid tax. I understand that. When I looked at it again today, didn't see a not to exceed number. There's no mention of a dollar amount anywhere in the contract, and I think we're talking close to $200,000 or something like that over the 3-year period. And I'm not sure that I've ever seen a contract without reference to a dollar amount in it before. Seems like it needed some language possibly for that.
And I'm not sure that we're going to be able to apply that language because it's a state mandate that 30% of the state funds go to a DMO of some sort. And then our local, it's an up to 8%. We can probably cap the local, but with the state, I don't believe that we have that option.
Okay.
And did you look at others to, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think you can. I think the 8% we have the ability to be flexible on. And maybe it's some trigger at the 8%, if it's a certain amount of money, maybe that triggers an automatic look to see if it goes there, or maybe other things pop up. I don't know what could pop up over what's the year term? Do we have 3 years? So.
Confused. If the state says 30%, but we don't have to give 30%. Do we have to give 30%?
We do, of the state funds.
Okay, so if we give 30%, his question was, it says up to, so even if it says up to 30% of the funds collected.
I believe it's the up to the 8%, and we adopted that new language in our town ordinance. So there is a little bit of flexibility, but up to 8% for our local aid tax, and then that's the flat 30% with the state aid tax.
It actually says it must allocate 30%, ... And then the other is not to exceed 8%. So it's not an up to on that. Would you rather see an up to or not to exceed?
Not to exceed to me.
Okay. That's written in this resolution.
For the local funds?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the 30% is a definite. I don't see how you could put a max on that because it fluctuates. But the 8%, as we are going to look at it tonight, it says that an amount not to exceed 8% of local accommodations tax may be set aside to a special fund.
Well, it's up to 8%, not to exceed 8%, it's the same thing, isn't it?
No.
No, well, up to.
Up to, that means you got to stop when you get at 8.
Well, you could
And if
be
you
anywhere from
exceed,
1
then you
to
got to
8.
stop when you get to 8.
Yeah.
It's the same, I mean, I read it the same way,
Okay.
but.
I just wanted, he had mentioned
Yeah.
up to, so I wanted to read it. Okay.
Natalie, so what you're saying here is it's a 3-year term?
It's an up to 3-year term.
It's, what we're talking about is awarding a 3-year term,
That's correct.
but then at the end of the 3 years, there is not an automatic increase to go into another 1, 2, or 3 years or whatever after.
That is correct. We will go through the same exercise with another RFP at that time.
Any other questions? Y'all did a great job.
Thank you.
Working on this.
Thank
If no other questions, there a motion to authorize the town manager to execute a contract between the town of Bluffton and the Hilton Head Island Bluffton Chamber of Commerce as the town's of Bluffton's designated marketing organization for an up to 3-year term without an automatic renewal for additional terms.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
Mayor and council, it's my understanding that the Chamber of Commerce does not have a board meeting in July, that their board will take this up in August. It's also my understanding that the draft contract has been gone through by staff there, including Mr. Miles, they don't seem to have any heartburn about the contract to date, but we will not be able to sign a contract till their board approves it in August. Am I correct, Mr. Miles? Yes, that's correct. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Moving on to item 2, consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 13 of the Town Code, Public Property. Town Code, streets, sidewalks, and other public property for the purpose of consolidating, clarifying, and augmenting codified rules for public parks, docks, and boat ramps. And this is the first reading. We did have a workshop on it.
Yes, ma'am.
And Scott took our notes, and so this will be first reading, second reading in August.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
So we're requesting your consideration, first reading of an ordinance that will accomplish 3 objectives. It'll create a consolidated codified source of rules for all town parks, docks, and boat landing. It will define the term electronic smoking device, and it will include it in the definition of smoking in our ordinance. It will also establish uniform penalties for violation of park, dock, and boat ramp rules. Mayor said we did workshop this in May. 3 objectives that I just spoke about will be accomplished through a series of amendments that are all covered under this ordinance for your consideration. The first is to rescind Chapter 22, Article 5, which addresses dock rules. The second is to rescind Chapter 22, Article 6, which contains dog park rules. We would add Chapter 13, Article 2, which would be titled Public Park, Dock, and Boat Ramp Rules. We would amend Chapter 18 to add the definition of electronic smoking device and include it in the definition of smoking. We would also remove a reference to DuBose Park specifically in Chapter 18 because it would then be covered in our new Chapter 13 that we're putting park rules in. And we also will have an amendment that will provide uniform penalties for violations. At the May 14th workshop, we presented suggestions for your discussion regarding codification and the amendments to our park and dock rules. We listened to the questions you had and the feedback you gave us, and I'll go over those with you specifically in just a moment. With your indulgence, we can revisit each item that you gave us feedback on, and we'll provide you with how the staff incorporated your feedback into the amendments that are included in your ordinance. First of all, one of the points of feedback we received was that the fishing rules should be simple and consistent. So what we did to accomplish that was we put identical language in all public dock rules to say fishing is allowed so long as it does not interfere with docking of watercraft. Possible. You also asked us to relocate the Calhoun Street dock loading unloading zone toward the western end of the dock.
That's okay.
I think we understand. So that's the new conceptual drawing of the dock. You can see, as opposed to where we had the dock previously, we had the dock, you would walk out the gangway and you would basically be on the western edge of the dock. We have now moved the dock west, where you're not actually on the western edge of the dock as soon as you come out. Also did away with the hard loading unloading zone area where we had the demarcation. A general loading and unloading zone area, which is near the gangway, and the rest of the dock is free to park as available. We had some discussion on hours that the docks would be open. You asked us to seek input from Palmetto Bluff regarding the hours of operation for their public dock. We contacted a representative from Palmetto Bluff, and they revealed that the preference was to leave the operational hours as is. That is, there are no time restrictions on when the Palmetto Bluff dock. The proposed amendment we have, our hours of operation and the amendment are silent with regard to time that the public dock at Palmetto Bluff can be open. Also said that there should be no express prohibition of smoking for Oyster Factory Park. And so now the amendment is silent with regard to smoking at Oyster Factory Park. There was some discussion over the language on priority for usage of the boat ramp at Oyster Factory Park. There was a request to make that language as simple as possible, so the language now reads, use shall be on a first-come, first-served basis. You asked us to add a rule to prohibit hunting on the New River Linear Trail. What we did, in fact, was to include language in the amendment that prohibits hunting for all parks, docks, and boat landings. Also, as a result of other feedback received from council members following the workshop, we also have an amendment that contains a prohibition against horses on the New River. Overnight camping was discussed. Asked if it was not already addressed in town code. It should be prohibited in parks, docks, and boat landing. The only place it was addressed in our town code was on our docks and boat landings, and prohibited overnight camping on docks and boat landings. Now we have the amendment that prohibits camping in all parks, docks, and boat landings. In Attachment 5, you will find a summary of all the rules in the proposed amendments. This particular document is the front page of Attachment 5, and what it does is it highlights each property, the hours that we're proposing it to be open in the amendments, the alcohol usage rules, smoking rules, and fireworks rules. These seem to be the biggest points of discussion when we had the workshop, and so at a glance you can see how we have the amendments arranged. Behind the first page is a complete set of rules contained in the amendments if you care to look at them. They'll tell you the only items that we have changed since what we came to you with a starting point for a suggestion at the workshop were the items that we specifically discussed and you asked for feedback on and that I've already covered with you. All the other items remain the same. Happy to entertain any questions you have on any of the proposed rules we have in the amendments to these ordinances.
Questions?
Yeah, can you go back, please? Silent on smoking and silent. Is there an explanation for that?
Yes, the explanation is those are areas where we discussed during the workshop. And either when we discussed them at the workshop, they were either listed as silent at that time, or the preference that was communicated by council at the workshop indicated that you wanted that property to be silent with regard to smoking.
Silent. What does silent mean?
Silent means there are no specific prohibitions against smoking that are stated in those rules for that.
What I recall is that council was specific on not allowing smoking at parks with playgrounds, but in other areas, I believe you requested that it remain silent so as to not have any regulations for us to enforce. Playgrounds traditionally have been the issue that you have raised with me and with us.
My only worry on the two docks that we have, not the Palmetto Bluff dock, is I'm probably just as concerned someone's smoking when there's gas and an engine going on. And I thought on one of his other pages, I thought you had no smoking on. I thought that's what I read on the Calhoun Street dock on the list. Anyway, maybe we can look, I might be the only one. I mean, but we're restricting, no alcohol strictly prohibited, but then they can smoke. So I don't know, do you care if the Calhoun Street dock and the Oyster Factory dock is silent? That means they can smoke or not smoke. And there are no ashtrays out there, so they're going to flip it in the water.
Just as a reminder, we're silent now with regard to that issue in Oyster Factory.
Yeah, that's what I saw. The Calhoun Street dock and the Oyster Factory Park dock. I get it at the park, and we talked about that. I would like to see no smoking on the Calhoun Street dock and the Oyster Factory Park dock unless others.
Agree with that, because as soon as they're done with whatever they're smoking, you know where the butt's going to go.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I don't have an issue. I mean, if somebody's smoking, they see the lawman coming, they're going to throw it in the water anyway, so. You know, I mean, I mean, we live in the real world, but go
No,
ahead.
but the cop's going to come from the water.
Well done.
That's what's going on.
Larry.
Well, they're going to get a ticket,
fine
because
with
it's
me,
no
but-
smoking.
That's fine, I
All
don't
go
mind at
swimming.
all.
Are they going to go swim then?
Same thing's gonna happen to the beer can or whatever.
I guess I would ask Terry, is that a minor enough amendment we could go ahead with first reading?
That is minor enough to be first reading.
Okay.
That's
Is
correct.
We can make
everyone
that
okay
change
with
between
that,
first
with
and
those changes? The two docks, not the parks?
That's a minor change.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I thought at one point we were discussing having an area strictly for fishing.
We did discuss having an area specifically for fishing on the Calhoun Street dock, but as I recall, the way the discussion went, and I went back and I watched the meeting a couple of times when I was putting this report together, the consensus that I was hearing from council was that there really was no need to specifically mark a spot where you can fish, because you're going to fish with the tide. You're going to go from one end of the dock to the other, depending on whether the tide's going or coming. And so the primary consideration was just to be sure you're not in the way of boat traffic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you'd be changing.
Yeah,
the money.
I like that language.
They're shaking their head no.
No, that's the way I thought we decided, because what if a boat is not there? Then you
Fish all over.
Prohibited for no reason.
And it is a lot of fishing going on during the week. It's a lot of activity on that dock, non-boat, which is wonderful to see. So, any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, this is first reading. You're going to make the two changes on the smoking on the docks. With those two changes, is there a motion to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 13, 18, and 22 of the Code of Ordinances for the purposes of consolidating, clarifying, and augmenting codified rules for public parks, docks, and boat ramps?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous, and we'll see its second reading in August. Next, we skip to 4, because we already did 3, and that's a resolution to approve renewal of the Memorandum of Understanding with Cornerstone Church to provide public parking in the Bluffton Historic District.
Hello again.
You again. I did that on purpose, so you just stayed up
Yes,
there.
ma'am, and I do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So just as a reminder, council entered into a 2-year memorandum of agreement with Cornerstone Church in 2016 for use of their parking lot adjacent to Calhoun Street for public parking, approximately 50 spaces. The renewal of that MOA was approved by council in 2018 for a term of 1 year, so that brings us to this year. And so currently, there's an amendment being proposed, which I'm asking for your approval on, for an additional year, and it's at the same rate of $1,000 per month. The rate of using that parking space is not going up, but this is for an additional year at that site to provide public parking spaces at all times except for Sunday morning services and a couple of times through the year when Cornerstone has.
Questions? Questions?
I have just something to talk about possibly. Just wondering, I'm fine with this year because we're not complete, but when we finish our parking project at on Boundary Street, different to look at, I would think. I mean, come back, so this would just be, it's not a 2-year, it's just a 1-year agreement?
It is a 1-year agreement, but there's also an option in the agreement that with 30 days' notice, we can cancel the agreement.
So you'll come
we
back
have-
to
we
us
have-
next year to
we have that option.
reevaluate?
Reevaluate
Or
next year.
this year? Or this
Well-
year, within 30 days?
Right. Yeah, and I'm an advocate for more parking. I don't mind whatever it costs, we have to pay it. But I am also curious to the agreement that the Promenade businesses had from their original development agreement with the church for parking. Maybe we should consider looking into a possible joint venture with them. Maybe not. It's just a suggestion that came to my mind. Is in the development agreement from the Promenade. Something to,
But Larry, I'm curious, with the sale of the property, does that make that null and void or not?
sale of what?
If they ever
property?
sell their property, the
So-
church.
To make what null and
You're
void?
talking about the Promenade agreement to use the church parking?
Right.
Yes. If the church ever sells their property, would that be null and void?
That should be in our development agreement from 2002, or whenever that was done.
I think that's a Terry question, and we might need to bring everyone together to make sure that stays no matter what, because that was the reason they got what they got.
What I know, the agreement is recorded, so I'll let Terry answer the legalities of that, though.
I'll have to look at it. My initial reaction would be that it would stay in full force and effect because of the development agreement. I'll be happy to look at it.
I would think, too.
I hear Larry's wanting to make sure we get them all together to see if we can go through this year, see what happens with our parking, but bring the developer of Promenade in with the church and make sure everyone knows that agreement goes with any ownership and how we can partner. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Make a note on the staff side to follow through with that for you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to approve renewal of the memorandum of understanding with Cornerstone Church to provide public parking in the Bluffton Historic District?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous.
And Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mark corrects me on that. He doesn't believe that, I don't believe there's a development agreement in place. It's zoning with an easement, a recorded easement.
He understood that. It was like that zoning, but they had to do A. Okay, we'll get that.
Yeah, that's high-tech.
I know. Next is, Chief. Wait a minute. Well, you're not Chief. You're Natalie. Consideration of a resolution, I had my thumb over that, to renew the memorandum of agreement 2017-69 between the Historical Preservation Society and the town of Bluffton. I just don't know what that -69 means.
That is the current MOA that we have with the
Oh,
Bluffton
okay.
Historic Preservation Society.
Okay, for Welcome Center Services.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yes. So at the request of Town Council during last month's meeting, there was a contingently approval for their accommodations tax funding for their Welcome Center application. We have worked to create an amendment to that MOA currently with BHPS. It includes some language for the term, for the amount for the year, for the fiscal year that will start in July. And then it also includes some other language that is similar to what we have currently with our DMO, just so that things are a little bit more consistent with our contracts and our MOAs. At the request of BHPS, there is one slight change to amendment, and that is in paragraph 2. And the request is to change where it says, and facilitate long-term maintenance of the Caldwell Archives, to change it to, and provide space for the BHPS Caldwell Archives. And other than that, that is the draft of this that is presented. Questions?
Questions?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to ask Kelly and Katie to come up, and I have some questions that I'd like to ask you directly.
Questions? Okay. Come on up, guys. Stand with Natalie.
All right. I want to say, as I said last time, I support the Bluffton Historical Preservation Society and have always voted to support the Bluffton Historical Preservation Society. And I know that you're doing a fabulous job, Kelly, you and Katie, and I've worked with Katie, and you can't find a better person to do what she does, and you as well. You're great ambassadors for what we're doing as a community. That being said, I'm still agonizing over the budget. You know, when I look at the budget, like in 2015, it was $100,000, and in 2017, it was $127,000, and in 2019, it's $190,000. And then there's a section in the budget that talks about advertising increase from $7,900 to $2,500. And so I look at that, and your visitor increase is from 10,642. Your estimates for 2019 projections are 13,000, which is a substantial increase of 22% without increasing the advertising dollars. So I look at that, and I don't know why we need to have a multiplier from 7,900 to 2,500 for advertising cost. And then I look at and I'm confused by this, so I want help on this one. The arts and culture events budgeted at $3,500, the oyster roast and the historical cocktail party, fundraisers. Is that not something that the BHPS is supposed to be responsible for as fundraisers to generate revenue for themselves, not getting money from the town?
We do have several, excuse me.
No, I was just listening for you.
We do have some fundraising events, but the 3,500 for tours and events, including the historic town party, an annual oyster roast. Actually, the annual oyster roast and historical town party are not, we're not asking for money for those. What we're asking some advertising and marketing money for is events like the historic town party that we did in February that really was aimed not at visitors, but at town, at our local populace. We feel like, and it's part of our MOA language, that it is our responsibility to continue to educate and inform and invite our town and our local populace to talk about history and culture and to celebrate that. So we're looking for part of our marketing money to be able to be spent locally. And I can refer to the original MOA language, if you like, which talks about this is in attachment 2 under the Welcome Center B, Section B, Community Outreach and Education. As the liaison and advocate for historic preservation initiatives to the community, the Historical Society will, 1, bring people together interested in the history of Bluffton and vicinity. 2, collect materials which illustrate the history of the area. 3, disseminate historical information. 4, preserve historic buildings. 5, hold meetings, lectures, and papers. Develop and hold regularly occurring educational programs. We feel like these are the kind of programs that need support, and they are written into the MOA. We feel like we have a local responsibility as well as being a Welcome Center to the 82% who visit the Welcome Center and are from other areas. But as you can see from the little fact sheet that I distributed before the meeting, we're finding that 20% of our visitors are locals. They're bringing their visitors in. And so that's a definite part of our audience and our reach and our mission.
Yeah, I was just confused when I read back through it and I saw the 3,500 and then I saw reference to those two things. But let me just move on because I'm really looking at a bigger picture here. You had in the budget for salaries in 2019, $83,435. Didn't you? Listed for salaries? What did you have in the numbers?
For this year? For this year's budget? $150,000?
No, it went, I thought I saw 105,707 projected.
It is.
For 2020, and then the 2019 was 83,435.
Here we go.
It's on the attachment right here.
Okay, right.
And the reason I mention that, only reason I mention that is only one reason at all, is that's a 27% increase. And the employee sitting in this room didn't come anywhere near to getting a 27% salary increase at all, including the town manager. So anyway, I guess what I'm trying to summarize here, and one other thing too, I think that we need an indemnification clause written into the contract. It needs to be in there. We're putting them in others. We don't have one in this one. But the only other thing is that it's a budget thing with me, that's all. I mean, I support to a level, but I think the increases that have been asked every other year or every year are just enormous. And so I'd just like to see you review your budget request and see if there are any areas that you can cut. Myself, I think I've said enough. But again, I appreciate what you guys do and support it wholeheartedly. I just think it's a numbers thing with me at this point.
Hear you, Councilman. Let me just point out, and these come from the staff report from the Finance Department, that the percentage covered for the Welcome Center is 82% of our operating budget for the Welcome Center. It's 82%, which means that we are performing Welcome Center services at our own cost. So if you look at that budget line for the Welcome Center and what it costs to run it, we're bending over backwards. In terms of salary, take the $150,000 that we're asking for this year and divide that in your head between 3.5 people. You'll get to a number that is less than we offer a beginning salary employee for the town or for the police. These salaries and wages come without benefits. We do not get any health, dental, eye kind of benefits. So the benefits that are listed are FICA and Social Security, which are required to pay. I earn $41,500 without benefits. I work really, really hard for it. If you find someone to do this job for less, I want to know who they are, because I feel like Katie and I and Miranda really do an excellent job for a few dollars. I might be wrong. And we'll work hard we have for this year's budget, to scrape away every bit of waste and reconcentrate. This is my second budget with this operation, so I've learned some things from last year. We're doing it better this year, and we have made budget. We're asking for $5,000 more in ATAX money than we did last year. I feel like it's fair. I feel like the number is fair. I feel like we do need to revisit and look at what exactly you get as a Welcome Center for your dollars.
I think that is a wise comment.
I agree.
And again, educate me better than what I've been reading, because I know, and I know how hard y'all work. I know how hard she works. I don't question that at all. And again, I don't question your mission. These are just big jumps, maybe only 5,000, but from 2017, from 127 to 190, and from 2015, 100 to 190. Those are substantial budget increases. And that's my only point. And, when you take and you look at the BHPS Welcome Center, and this is not your issue, but the GBC Visitor Center is requesting $43,990, and our DMO roughly at $200,000. That's $433,000. I mean, that's 3 big hits. That's a lot of money. I know it's ATAX dollars. I just want to be sure that everybody is spending the money wisely.
I believe that we are, Councilman. If we need to sit down and go over the budget line at a time, I'm happy to do that. But I think that we've pared it down the best that we can. And again, services are growing, visitors are growing, expectations are growing, all of our numbers are growing. I think that it's a fair request, so tell me if I'm wrong.
Or maybe a synopsis that you can put together
of
what you just said.
Did you get the information sheet that I
This is
circulated?
It's right here. Yeah.
It has quite a bit of the
Okay.
highlights that I wanted to iterate to council today, and I know that you're a man who does all of your homework. Please absorb that and let me know what questions I can answer.
This is a real good piece.
Thank you.
And I
That's at the
think,
request of Mark Orlando. He asked, do a little summary. That's-
which is, I want to show the Greater Bluffton Council this, because it's really what we're looking for. I got one question. I just want to make sure we're following ATAX rules. Can we give money, I ask you and you, Natalie, but can we, because they're our welcome center and may cover it, we can give money for things focused on locals?
Ideally, the ATAX fund should be used to attract for tourists to come and visit Bluffton. So the advertising dollars should be used, they can be used for events and festivals, but they should be used to attract those people to come to our Bluffton festivals and
Are
events.
we going to get in trouble that some of this money is going to focus on, even though and I'm getting there because I think the locals bring their visitors. So I think we've got to word that differently because I just don't want to get in trouble. Somebody says, oh, they're spending on locals. Well, the locals have house guests. So maybe it's wording that differently from your side, Kelly.
One thing that we found, and we only advertised local for our historic town party, or from out of town. And this was our local party. So
How many were from out of town? 20%. Okay, I just don't want to.
45 to 50 of the partygoers came through the house and wrote in our log and, told us that they were from somewhere else.
That's something I think we've got to know. I just don't want to have this is such a wonderful,
Yes.
it could be great, it can be horrible, and all this could be over if we get, if we don't do it right. So
Right.
let's make sure we do that. And I think where Dan was going, I'm kind of with him. I think we've got to all come together and decide how much needs to be spent on marketing and how many different places are marketing different things versus how can we all come together and help each other. We're a town that does help each other. So I think there's some partnerships after this year we've got to all look at and it makes sense and it kind of goes with the budgeting and the money and where can we spend smarter. So I think everyone that spends money on marketing our town needs to know that. We got to find some way to partner with that. So, and you do a great job, Katie. So.
I want to make one comment regarding the 3,500 that's under
Art and cultural events.
that is programs, as he mentioned. Programs also booklets that we send out.
A little bit louder.
Okay, it is from bringing people from outside inside. So it's a net in the past we've used program/printing.
So you get requests from people as well, and you send out, I know it's a word that everyone uses and I've lost it.
Relocation. Yeah.
Relocate, well, you call it relocation or some kind of packet if they call you and you send them out info. So right now we have 3 different entities sending out 3 different packets, which goes to my thought still. We got to get the same message and get the same out because I bet you get a map too. So we all have.
We've got the best map.
Good. Well,
We
let's
send
use that
quite
map.
a thorough packet. It's
Okay.
not just for visitor or people.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Mr. Hamilton?
Kelly, I'm dittoing basically everything that Dan has said. I'm very concerned about the increase in the budget, but if you can provide us with proper reason for the increase year by year, and that possibly the salary is something that I heard you say that I'm a little confused by because I think I've been asking for the last 10 years that you guys raise more funding. if you're going to have fundraisers, that's going to at least cover a part of the salary and not ask the town to support the salary, or in the future, support repairs to a building that the town doesn't own. Those things, I think, has to be, we have to do business differently from now on because there's so many other people that come in for the same pot of money. The mayor just said that we have to partner differently. I hope she meant that we don't want to duplicate the same thing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We don't want to duplicate the same thing. It's 3 different agencies doing the same work. And they're asking for the same, basically the same pot of money. So at some point, I think we all need to sit down and realize that we can't do business the same. We want to do business, but we have to be a little wiser because things are changing and situations are changing. So we need to make sure we change with it.
So normally, we don't ask for money to advertise out of area, and this year we put in $25,000 in our marketing because we wanted to spread that area a little bit. We see ourselves as being the fulfillment end of the visitor. The chamber and other people do great jobs of advertising Hilton Head and making sure that everyone knows that we're the 4th fastest growing town and all of those great things. We are about fulfillment. So if you want to take that $25,000 away, that was my attempt to say, I think that we can effectively market regionally out of our area and get some people to come to our festivals. But if you don't want to hear that, take that $25,000 or that $20,000 out. I've got to have $5,000 to locally market. But there's your budget increase right there. I wanted to spend more dollars this next year doing some smart marketing, mostly social media, a little bit of print. But there you go. There's $20,000 right there. But I just want to reiterate.
Yeah.
If we look at the balance and the budget sheets, that right now you're not paying 100% of the Welcome Center's costs. So we need to compare and make sure we're talking about apples to apples.
Yeah, fulfillment was the word I was looking for. Every entity does fulfillment on every request, and the Greater Bluffton Chamber just talked about fulfillment. Our DMO does fulfillment. Now you're doing fulfillment somewhere, and everyone has 5 maps, and we have so much duplication, and I think we're past it this year, but I just think we all have to get together. I remember sitting here when we had 5 requests for 5 maps that did the same thing. And we had a council lady here that said, get together and figure your map out. Old Town Merchants, everyone else. And they started slowly partnering with entities to do the same thing. And it really worked for a while. We hit a recession, then all of a sudden we have a ton of money. And like Fred said, they're going to be more, we're growing. And right now it looks like we have a big pot of money, but it's going to dwindle. Those 2 baseball tournaments, we want more people to ask to help spread. So it's not really a question. It's just, I think everyone does that. And I think it makes me realize even more, we all got to get together. And I think this year is a good year to figure that out and just have a joint meeting of some portions of all of our marketing organizations.
One last comment. Kelly, your arguments are good. I would like to hear more. Maybe just since I'm right down the street from you, I can come visit you. Also, the last thing I want to leave with you in this committee, when your numbers were increasing from 10-something to 13,000 with your projections with visitors, and as the town is growing exponentially, and we've been adding over 800 houses a year for 4 or 5 years now, that started to make me step back also and wonder, where are you going to be? What are your needs going to be going forward? And you need to put that on paper for us.
The 10,000 to 13,000, the 13,000 projection, was that your number, Ellie?
That's an estimate.
Okay, this year's number was
10,569 the year before, something like that.
No, this year's number was 12,000.
12,000, okay, all right.
So 13,000, very realistic goal
Yeah.
next year. In fact,
Okay.
I think we can do better. I think we will.
I think you'll at least increase by 50% to the Garvey House the more you have that open, which
I hope
thank you
so.
for doing
I
that.
hope so, and that was 2,000 visitors this year.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Any other questions? Okay. Any other questions? Then?
No, I'm good.
So we have a motion somewhere, I just lost it. Thank you, Kelly and
Yes,
Katie.
I did.
Y'all do a fabulous job, fabulous. And I know, Kelly, you're kind of in this year too, after 5 or 10, listening to Fred talk about 10 years, and you're coming into this.
Mayor, you have to add the indemnification into it.
You make the motion. You
So-
do that motion. Want to read it and add it?
Here. So really, all I need to say is add indemnification language at the end.
Add standard indemnification language.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution renewing the memorandum of agreement 2017-69 for an additional fiscal year term beginning on July the 1st, 2019, through Amendment 1 between the town of Bluffton and the Bluffton Historical Preservation Society for Welcome Center Services, with the addition of indemnification language.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Chief, consideration of resolution to adopt the Town of Bluffton Police Department Strategic Plan. Y'all all have this at your seat. Welcome back, Chief.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor, Council, thank you for allowing me to come in and give you guys a snapshot of our strategic plan for years 2019 to 2021. I'll try to be quick. We're very proud of this strategic plan. It was a lot of work and effort by staff and the community. So moving forward, this will help us get to where we need to go as an organization, as we grow professionally and grow as a town. So the strategic plan will be the police department's guideline for the next 3 years as work is done creating a safer community and building stronger relationships with everyone, those that live here and those that visit, that we just heard about. This plan was built around the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing, which we'll discuss just a few minutes later. We took multiple steps in developing this plan, which included developing a strategic planning committee, which was made up of officers of all different ranks and civilian staff. So we got input from everyone throughout the department when we put this plan together. We completed an internal SWOT analysis, which talks about our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That was also given to every member, to every staff member, so they could contribute to that. And then we pushed out a community survey asking where we stood in the community on certain issues. I was very proud that we got nearly 300 replies back, 277 to be exact. But that gave us a good picture of how the community saw us, and that allowed us and helped us to develop the plan and some of the goals that we needed to achieve. And then developing this plan, we realized that our mission statement and our vision and our core values needed to be updated, so we updated those. And then we prioritized goals and established timelines for those completions. Oop, somebody, can I back up one? All right. Okay. All right, so with the adoption of this plan, we'll have a new mission statement. And the mission statement is actually very simple. It's to enforce the law and serve the community with professionalism and integrity, with an emphasis on community policing. It doesn't get much simpler than that. We're going to be professional in what we do, we're going to do it with integrity, and we're going to emphasize community policing. That's our bread and butter. And then we have a new vision statement, and it says the Bluffton Police Department will strive to be a model agency noted for professional law enforcement services and community policing by adhering to our core values. So our core values spell out practice. So if you ever heard the old saying, we practice what we preach, that's what we're going to do. I'm very proud of this next few words here. So P is for professionalism. We're always going to maintain our professionalism and be the most professional law enforcement agency in the region. We're going to show respect to everyone that we deal with each other, and everyone in our community. We're going to be accountable to you, town manager, and to our community and to ourselves. We're going to have courage to do the right thing and do the right thing at all times. We're going to be transparent about who we are and what we do. If we do good things, you'll know about that, and if we make a mistake, we'll own that. We're all about integrity. You cannot be a police officer without integrity. That should be the greatest asset we all have. We're going to be committed, and we're going to have a lot of effort moving forward. Without those, I don't think that we can succeed. So those are our core values. And then I want to talk very quickly about the 6 goals of the Presidential Task Force. And these 6 goals outline what we will do for the next 3 years. And number 1 is building trust and legitimacy within our community. You've got to continually work on that. I don't care if you're at the pinnacle of your game right now, you've got to continually work on continuing to build trust and legitimacy. We got to look at policy and oversight to make sure we're doing the right things. We got to embrace technology and social media. We got to be committed to community policing, crime and crash reduction. And then we've got to take care of our officers with training and education and officer safety and wellness. 2 very important points. So I'm going to speak to each of those goals very quickly again and cover just a few of our strategies with each of those. So building trust and legitimacy, there's a couple of things that I'd like to point out. We're going to increase our local recruiting efforts to support a diverse workforce. This town is becoming more diverse every single day, and our department needs to reflect that. We're going to identify and assign liaisons to all of our groups, different special interest groups within the community. Make sure we're hearing what they say. And then we're going to increase positive non-enforcement activities. It's not always about going out and issuing a citation or making an arrest or something like that. It's a huge part about education and building bridges into the communities. If you notice, we've put a huge attempt into building bridges in our Hispanic community lately. That's very important for us. It's a growing segment of our society that we haven't touched in the past. So we need to do a lot more positive non-enforcement type activities, a lot more education, a lot more preventative work, including putting a lot more stuff out on our social media pages and our website as we redo that. So policy and oversight. The number 1 thing is we've created a policy review committee to review every single policy in the department. That is a huge undertaking, but we want to make sure that some of those policies that have been in place for a decade or longer are updated to reflect who we are today and where we want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So we want to make sure they're all updated. And then something that's pretty dear to me and some others on the board here in front of me tonight is a citizen advisory committee, because we want to hear the community's perspectives on what's going on. And so we're going to work on developing that. And I've seen it be very successful in places, and I hope that it'll be very successful here, right framework. So we're moving forward with that. Technology and social media. We want to implement some advanced laser crime crash scene mapping technology to kind of move us forward in that area. We want to invest in alert technology for major incidents and traffic issues for the town of Bluffton. Because right now, I'm sending you an email, you're seeing it on social media. We want to encompass some sort of alert system where everybody in our community knows that 278's, there's an issue on 278, or we've got something on May River Road. So we're going to try to work on improving that. We're going to upgrade our department website to support other activities. We were talking about that as a town, as a whole, improving our website. And within the department, we've talked about what we can add to our website to increase our efficiency and provide more services to the community. Community policing and crime reduction. Hey, I told you earlier, community policing is the backbone of who we are and what we do. And so we're going to really work hard this year to increase our efforts to battle narcotics trafficking. We're seeing that affect our community more and more, and we're going to do that through education and enforcement. That's going to be one of our primary goals. A huge part of that is working with the community, educating them downfalls of narcotics. And then we're going to renew some old traditions like the Helping Hands Thanksgiving. We're going to work on providing food for our families and partnering with other agencies within the area to take care of folks during the holidays. It's a feel-good project, but it's also huge, huge. We really, truly want to work on decreasing our traffic accidents by 10%. We've got some good ideas on doing that. That'll be one of our strong goals. And the Let's See 43 campaign. We see that as a huge endeavor, not only this year, I mean, it's on everybody's, the tip of everybody's tongue right now, but we want to see that program move forward. We want that to be a key ingredient. We'll work on distracted driving through the Let's See 43 partnership, and we'll hope that'll tie back into decreasing a lot of these traffic accidents we're talking about. Training and education. You got to have the best trained, best educated law enforcement officers in the region to maintain the status where we are today. We get a lot of accolades for doing good things. We've got to train our officers and educate them to keep that status up. And we're going to improve a couple things that we've already got scheduled and we will be touching on here in the near future is we're going to improve our emergency medical training for our officers to provide not only to themselves but to the community. And then another hot topic, which I believe in, is we're going to pursue training for all department personnel and de-escalation techniques and verbal confrontation resolution. How do we talk ourselves down? Instead of escalating situations, how do we calm situations down? That goes a long ways. And then the other one that I'm really, really looking forward to is we're going to create a professional development program for our younger officers. It'll start with our younger officers, and then we'll carry that through all the way through our staff. Officer safety and wellness. I believe in a very robust safety and wellness program. We've started down that path now. You're going to see us continue to grow that in the near future. Probably within the next few weeks, you'll see us pushing things out to our employees at the police department. We're going to implement a critical incident stress management team. Believe it or not, police officers do some very stressful things. And they need to have a team to be able to talk to and debrief situations. Create a physical fitness standard for everybody in the department. Currently, we have it for new hires. You can't get hired at the Bluffton Police Department now unless you pass a physical fitness test. I'll tell you what, I'm nearly 50. I'll physical fitness to save one of my fellow officers or creating a physical fitness standard for everyone to live by. And we're going to develop some seminars focused on helping our officers and their families deal with finance and parenting and other issues that cause stress in their lives. So that's just a very brief recap of our strategic plan. I am proud of it. You know, every good leader surrounds themselves with people that are smarter than they are, and my staff did a fantastic job putting this together. Kind of told them what I wanted, and this is what you got. And so we're very proud of that, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Questions?
Yes.
Yeah, Chief, would it be practical for when you're doing the training, medical training, if staff and council could also be part of that?
Absolutely. We'd invite anybody that wanted to attend the medical training. We're inviting some other local law enforcement agencies now because we have some extra seats. Anybody that wanted to come in to do that, be council or to town staff.
What are your strategy to have a more diverse staff?
Well, I think first of all, you got to recruit year-round. One of the things that we noted when I first came into the organization, which has nearly been a year now, is that we didn't focus a lot of efforts on recruiting. We just kind of had an open door policy, put your application in, and we'll keep it in stack and hire as these openings come. We have to be very dedicated in our recruiting process. We have to go to very particular job fairs. If we want minority-based police officers, then we've got to look into the minorities community to have them help us do that. I think our congregations at our local churches are a great recruiting tool. We need to be talking to them about that. We need to be in our colleges, and we need to be in our high schools. We need to be talking to some of these high school kids, just like the fire department does. Now, the fire department has the luxury of hiring them when they're 18, but we have a great criminal justice program within one of our local high schools. We need to be in there talking to those young men and women about making good decisions. The military. We have a huge military presence here. We need to be on bases, talking to those young men and women off of active duty and trying to help them make a decision on what they want to do. We've got a pretty good strategy of recruiting moving forward. A lot of it is based on minorities and trying to increase our minority participation at the police department.
I appreciate realize that there's an area that we can improve. Thank you for doing that. You also said that you would entertain, I think you said a community task force, not a task force, but
Advisory committee?
advisory committee.
Yes, sir.
Bit more similar to what we had before. What was that?
Public
Public
safety.
safety committee? Is that what you're referring to?
It could be that. However it may look as we work through this, because I think it'll take us a while to really frame that up to make sure we got the most efficient have to help us solve some of these issues. I don't know if we call it a public safety committee, an advisory committee, but I want it to be a diverse section of our community. Because at the end of the day, I think it's a great way for us to know what the community is seeing and hearing and what their problems are. I want to be able to hear.
Let me share something with you. Affordable housing is something that's important to me, right? Talk about it, but that's all we do, talk about it a lot of times. Something you said, community policing. Sometimes we talk about it, but I think you got a heart for it, and I really wish, I want to support you in that, because community policing would really make a big difference in a small town like Bluffton.
Thank you for recognizing that, because I think this entire department, there was a saying, one of the first sayings that I recognized when I started looking at this position, saying that was on a lot of documents that I read. I think we were committed to community a year ago. I hope you see that we're more committed to this community now than we have been in the past.
I just have one question, or one thing, it's more of a discussion, whatever. What can we do to help get the word out that is against state law, not just Bluffton laws, to park your vehicles' wheels on the sidewalks that we built for people to walk to and from point A to point B?
I think we can help you by conducting more enforcement on this issue. I know we're dealing with a lot, especially on the weekends at our parks and our boat ramps, but we also need to make sure, you wouldn't think you'd need to educate somebody on parking on a street sidewalk, but again, when we revamp the website and using social media, we need to be putting that out there. Issue we identify. Sidewalk's a perfect example. We need to be letting the public know that it's wrong, it's against state law, city ordinance, and you know something, if you continue to do it, then it's going to get into your pocketbook.
Right, well, it's just an ongoing
Absolutely.
situation.
Yes, sir.
And I don't feel like we need, I've been told that, well, y'all don't have any signs there. I don't think we need to have no parking signs on sidewalks. I've never seen them anywhere else I've ever been.
Sidewalks are pretty obvious.
They've always been able to, so they don't, they go to any other town, they're going to get a ticket, so.
I don't think having signage, though, is a bad thing. Moderately, we put them up and down Boundary for that very reason, because people were doing the same thing on Boundary and eliminating one-way traffic. And a couple of signs, that's a minor.
Mark.
It's a side topic, but before Chief leaves, I want to remind council and also let the community know that as a job fair in terms of recruiting a local diverse community and employment base, we as a staff, with Catherine's great help and leadership, we will be hosting a Town of Bluffton job fair, first time ever. Our senior team got together and thought through holding a job fair on August 9th at the Rotary Community Center from 9 o'clock until noon. So all department heads will be there. We will be recruiting employment not based upon open positions, but recruiting applicants for our future. And so we'll all be there, all department heads, all departments will be well represented from 9 till 12, August 9th. So
I saw that on the Facebook post earlier. Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am, there's a recommended motion if you guys so
There's
choose
a
to
motion
adopt.
to accept his strategic plan.
I
Yes.
need a copy of that, though. Presentation.
Okay, yes, sir.
There a motion to accept the Bluffton Police Department strategic plan for fiscal years 2019 to 21?
So moved.
There's a second. It does say 22 there. What does that mean? Okay.
All right.
Let's amend the motion. It's to accept the Bluffton Police Department strategic plan for fiscal years 2019 to 2022.
So moved.
There's a second. Any discussion? I did notice on our agenda, on our packet, you had it digitally on it, but is it on your police department page? Yes? Okay.
Adopted.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Man with no name, Mr. McAuley, thank you for coming up. Item number 7, consideration of an ordinance authorizing the town manager to execute an agreement providing a non-exclusive easement over certain real property owned by the town of Bluffton consisting of the parcels listed located at 1095 May River Road in favor of the Beaufort Jasper Water and Sewer Authority for the construction and maintenance of sanitary sewer improvements to serve the property. This is first reading. You're up.
Okay, for your consideration tonight is approval of a first reading of an ordinance authorizing the granting and transfer of a permanent utility easement to Beaufort Jasper Water and Sewer Authority for a portion of property commonly known as 1095. In order to provide the sanitary sewer service to the properties along Posey's Court and to this property as part of the Buck Island Simmonsville Phase 5E sewer project, we're required to extend a new sewer line that will be owned and operated by the Beaufort Jasper Water Sewer Authority.
Oh, it is? Okay. Any questions of Brian on this?
Brian, I like the way you did this tonight. You just jumped right into the motion.
Would you buy him a name tag? Someone stole this.
He's learned from Kevin.
No, it's the All-Star game is in the bottom
Well, then
first.
stop
That's what
asking.
it is.
Okay, is there no questions? Is there a motion to approve on first reading of ordinance 2019
Hasn't been assigned
Whatever,
yet.
authorizing the town manager to execute an easement agreement providing a non-exclusive easement over certain real property owned by Town of Bluffton located at 1095 May River Road in favor of Beaufort Jasper Water Sewer for the construction and maintenance of sanitary sewer improvements.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think you win the prize tonight.
Thank you.
All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Consent agenda consists of the 8 items. If there's nothing you want to pull out, is there a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? It is a really great list of items, especially number 8, which is the hate crime bill. I think every municipality is passing that, as well as the county, and it's very important for y'all to read through this consent agenda, and it's linked on the website, so you can get all the information. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have public comment not related to agenda items, and it's usually not this late, so I do apologize. Elizabeth Lovell. You could state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes, and you can.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Bell, and I live at 7 Albert Green Lane in Bluffton, South Carolina. And Bluffton, I was born here, and Bluffton is growing so much in the town. We are, Buck Island and Simmonsville are annexed into the town. I understand that we're residential, but I would like to know, what do we have to do so that we can become not only residential, but be able to put some businesses on our property so we can make some money too? I mean, even get the developers to come develop whatever it is that we want what do we need to do as Buck Island, Simmonsville, in order to be able to develop our property so that we can move forward? Because right now, I'm feeling like we're still stuck way back yonder. I just need to know, what do we have to do so that we can come up too? Because we stuck.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
It's a public comment. We don't usually answer public comment, but I'll throw in, we have a Buck Island Simmonsville neighborhood plan that was adopted in 2009, and I think it was, I would hope you were there. If not, we do have a Buck Island Simmonsville neighborhood meeting all the time. So I'd look at that plan and get with your stakeholders, and from there, I would suggest sitting with our town manager and seeing if that plan needs to be changed. Put that together for the residents there to know.
That was a 2009 plan?
And it's
2019?
Have you read it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
This isn't really more of a workshop, it's more of just a public comment, but we will get that information to you. And so to answer your question, I would say get with our town manager and see what those steps are to make changes to that plan. So, and we'll get you the town manager, get with our town clerk and she'll get you information if you'd like to know. Thank you very much. Did anyone to add to that? Public comment is over. Is there a motion to move into executive session for contractual matters regarding the Greater Bluffton Chamber and Convention Visitors Bureau, which is FOIA Act 3478? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you, interns, for staying. I hope they give you a treat tomorrow because you stayed way later than I expected. All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Y'all can stay longer if you want to.
Zach, do you still want to be a mayor?